Hello everyone, thanks so much as always for tuning in to the real estate experience. I have a new setup that's going on behind me, and those of you who are of course just listening on your car ride or while you're taking a shower, brushing your teeth and shaving your head, if you're doing both those at the same time, it is the year 2020, so I am just switching things up. Actually, the former spot that I was in could no longer use that, so I had to migrate somewhere else. So there we go. And if you haven't already, check out the interview that I had, and it's on this channel as well, on the YouTube channel, and it should be through here with my other episodes that I have, the sit-down chat that I had with Grant Cardone. Yes, GC. I would say myself personally, that was a surreal experience with that sit down that I listen to Grant on a daily basis to get not only motivation but sales, business, just being an overall better human being, insight, and to have that person sit right across from me, that was something that was a highlight and a pivotal moment in my life, and really just shows all the work that I've put in to be able to get to that point. And also I'll go on the later episode and describe how that all came together, but through that it was just a true blessing, and shows that there's anyone who's on here, you really control. I write down my goals on a daily basis, and one of the it's an affirmation that I write down that says I am the creator of my destiny. So I decide personally where I go, and I'm always working towards just further improving myself and unshedding limiting beliefs that I have, and just reaching up as much as I can. So to the person that's on here, yes, what you ultimately want to achieve, you can just go for it. I mean, you should go for it at the end of the day. So if you're in a 9-to-5 at this moment and you want to be full-time in real estate, yes, you can do it. It's just about reverse engineering and figuring out. So, and even to this day where I'm at, I'm not satisfied because I know there's so much more that I can go. And Grant even said that to me too. He said, yes, kudos to where you are. And when he was saying that, I was just, I said, thank you. But I'm thinking in the back of my head, this is not even where I'm at now. And this is what I like to tell myself, and this is what I do tell myself, is that I've got so much more to go. The potential that I have and the potential that you have too, is there's no limit to it. Who can set a potential on you? So that's what it comes down to. Don't want to get all motivational or anything, but that's just me speaking from just my personal experience. And then also I want to touch on, if you haven't already heard of it, there's the 31-day challenge that I rolled out that gives you the tools, tactics, mindset to get your first deal or even your next, whether that's scaling, further delegating to push yourself up so you can spend more time with your family, and just be able to focus more on the highest value activities. There is ways to find deals, find investors. There's so much. So you'll want to visit sterlingwhiteofficial.com. That one more time is sterlingwhiteofficial.com. So today's topic, I'm going to be jumping into how I raised $2.8 million on my most recent deal. Disclaimer is there was a team involved. It was just not myself. And so we're going to go ahead and just go into all the things that led up to that point, because that's the most I've raised for a deal. And that was the most I've raised by close to almost double. So let's jump into it. And the first thing I want to mention is it took patience. So most people see that the highlight, oh, he raised $2.8 million for that deal. However, there took a lot of behind the scenes, track record, eating absolute crap, doing the things that I don't want to do to be able to build all the way up to that point. So the first thing was I put out tons of content on the marketing side in order to bring investors on board and further build brand awareness for the company itself. So just want to go into some stats for you, and just I would say between 2 and 3 years. So I would say 2.5 years just on the platform Bigger Pockets alone, I contributed well over 200 articles. And also on the podcast side, done hundreds of podcasts. I don't even know the specific number, but those were that was my personal lead generation, you can say, to bring on investors and further bring brand awareness to the company itself. And then the principle I got that from was, well, let me take a step back, is I determined where my ideal investor was. So you could say a customer avatar, as most people like to put it. So I would say investor avatar. And then from that, I reverse engineer and said, okay, where are these people eyeballs are and where their ears are? And that's where I position myself to be of value. And one book that really helped with this overarching concept of value was Jab, Jab, Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. If you haven't read that book, it was a game changer for myself. And one thing I heard, though, I don't know if this is actually true about that book, but originally it was supposed to say jab, 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 right hook, or keep jabbing, because the main premise of jab, jab, right hook is value, 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 and then you can go for the ass. Myself personally, I just contributed as much free content, and even I was going through the forums in Bigger Pockets itself and just sharing my personal insights to someone who was where I was and said, okay, this is what I did. Not sure if it'll work for you, but this is the steps that I took, and this was the result. So that was the value that I was creating. So I started with the forums, and this was the process I took. So just on the Bigger Pockets platform alone, if you're not on there, it's absolutely free. Of course, they have paid plans, but just the free alone is a great way for you to get started. And then even outside of the forums, I was attending local meetups as well. But let's jump back to the forums. I'll talk about my steps that I took in my journey. So I was going through the forums, answering questions, addressing those. And then also I started a member blog. They have a member blog on there. I'm not sure if they still have it. I'm pretty sure they do. And that's what I was doing, and just blogging about just my journey. You can even find those older blogs on there too on the member blog. And then I reached out to the editor of the main blog, and they said, yeah, go ahead and we're always looking for contributors. Just go ahead and submit an article. And what I did was I submitted an article. The first one was, they didn't post it, and I just followed up with another article, and it was a good fit. And I believe it was I forget exactly what my very first article was. I'm trying to think. I do not know what it was. I'll actually need to review what my very first article was, but I mean, I've done over 200, so forgot, but I should know still at the same time. And they ended up posting it. And then after posting that first one, that's when I just kept really, and this was another concept that I got too from Grant's 10X rule. So I combined Grant's 10X rule, his principles and influence, with Gary V's insights from Jab, Jab, Right Hook. So value, value, value in terms of creating content creation. And then Grant's 10X in terms of the amount of effort that you have to put into it. So I produced one article, and then I started to scale things up and started contributing 3 to 4 articles on a weekly basis. And that really helped with just getting more brand awareness. So I'm a firm believer in the personal brand itself, and the personal brand, Sterling White, everything would filter through that to the company. And that's where the investors started to come on board, just seeing me multiple times, and I was creating value. And then some people, they were looking for alternative investments in real estate, and that's how they ultimately became a partner. So that's just on Bigger Pockets alone. Even outside of that, I was attending real estate conferences and seeing how I can be of assistance to others, and just networking and seeing that, okay, what are you looking to achieve, and then how can I be of assistance to get you there? So there was conferences, there was also local meetups as well. So these are all the things that came into play with the patience in building that investor network. So there's that. All right, and the next one is track record. So this deal that the $2.8 million was raised for was not the very first deal. There was well over 1,000 transactions that I was involved in previous to that point, and my team as well. And so providing the partners with great results, and 400 units were acquired before that deal as well. So all that came into play in the relationship. So the 2.8 million just wasn't raised in-house, brought on what you would call a capital partner to assist with raising money as well. So there was the track record of giving good results to investor partners. There was the accumulation of close to about 400 units and the successes that came with that and the learning lessons, trials and tribulations, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows, as most people like to put it. And then the next one is the pre-commitments. This is something that I always mention to people is to gauge where your investors are, especially if you have a larger network, or maybe if you have a smaller network of 3, 4, or you're just really looking to build things up. What I mean by pre-commitments is sitting down with John Smith. I don't know why I like using the name John Smith. Everybody uses John Smith, or 123 Main Street. Let's go with Joe Smith, an even more common name, or just about as common name. Just sit down with Joe Smith and say, if I had XYZ project that was in this location, what would you consider? So that's investing? One way to be able to get commitments. Some people even go into an actual legal document and have someone sign it. The process that I take is, on the website, it would be, okay, you can reserve here for this project. It's just a sample multifamily deal that gives XYZ returns between this. The average equity size is this. And then someone can go there and reserve anywhere between $50,000 up to $1 million. And through that is, once your deal is actually available, then that's when you can say, hey, I saw that you placed a reservation for $75,000. We do have something open that would fit that criteria that you were looking for. Would you like to invest? Here's all the financials. Here's the marketing package. Here's all these parameters. And there you go. They do their due diligence. So one thing about getting pre-commitments that has always worked for myself personally is to get over what you actually need. So if you're raising $3 million or you're averaging raising $3 million, it's good to get 10 to 15, even more over that, because what tends to happen is individuals just end up backing out, or they just don't end up pulling through, or maybe they found something else that is a more worthwhile investment. Just things happen. So it's always good to, I would say it's always better yourself to be in a position to where you have more investment dollars looking to invest with you versus a shortage. So that's the way I always look at it. Is that's a better problem to have, more people where you have cash on the sidelines versus the other route. So that's one thing I want to mention on that. And the last but not least is consistency. So consistency is key here with just getting that deal itself. And I've mentioned this on several times. Consistency plays into factor on just about. I'm actually reading this book, or just finished this book, called Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, I believe is his name. But phenomenal book about how consistency comes into play. By you may not see the results then and there of, let's say, you're doing cardio for 20 minutes per day or 30 minutes per day. You may not see the results after week 1. However, you look 3 years from now and you've done that cardio for that long, you'll be slim, cut up, feeling phenomenal, versus someone who does, he talks about the compound effect over a longer duration of time. So someone who is not even doing cardio at all, that compounds over 3 years if they're eating bad foods. That if you're the one that is putting in the work, let's say 30 minutes of cardio per day, and then you have a second person who's not doing anything, and then you have a third person that's doing, let's say, 10 minutes of cardio per minute, that you look 3 years down the line, it compounds so much. So you can just use that's probably not a not so good example, but you get where I'm going with that, how things really compound and how crucial consistency is. One thing I want to mention is the total raise was $2.8 million, of which a portion of that was the down payment to acquire the property, and the remaining was for improvements on the specific property, which was between about 1.5 to 2 million, closer to the 2 million figure in terms of the improvements, and was able to get additional line of credit from the lender to take care of improvements as well. But don't want to go too much into the nitty gritty on that, but just want to start with patience. Yes, many people see the highlight of getting the deal and having that raise. at the same time, it took a lot of behind the scenes sacrifices. Myself personally is when I go on vacation, I'm still working. And even when I'm not working, I'm mentally working on how are ways I can go about things more efficiently. What's the next set of objectives that I can do? So it's just overall patience, and that you may have to do smaller deals and you just gradually work up to the even bigger ones and just change your think. Now, minimally, I tend to not even look at something that's under 75 units, but that's just a whole different type of thing. At first, I thought 75 units was huge. I mean, because I started from single family and was able to build up to 150 or so, and then went straight towards a 46 unit, and then operated that 46 unit and realized, okay, this isn't so bad. Let me go up to an 80 unit. Oh, okay. The 80 unit, this is even easier to manage than the 46 units and 150 or 80 single families. Okay, let me go to 156 units. So it just takes patience, and you may have to gradually work up to that, or you can work with someone as an intern or be an employee of a larger firm that has those type of assets to be around that type of think and see how things are really operated on a day-to-day basis and understand the businesses itself. And then you can take those lessons and just go straight towards the bigger deal. To each his own on that. All right. And then the next one is track record on previous performance. So myself personally, as I alluded to, had well over 1,000 transactions. So that really did help with providing that credibility to the investor partners that, hey, he knows what he's doing. He's been able to provide great results to us. Let's decide to reinvest. And also had a good inflow of investors coming in from the content marketing side. So those are all the different avenues there. The third one is just pre-commitments. This is something I would always highly recommend, is to get pre-commitments, soft commitments. You don't have to have them binding by any means that say, hey, if you don't invest in this, then you have to invest in it. I've never done anything legally binding with a commitment on that side, so not sure how that will work if someone didn't invest. But yeah, just having a very soft commitment just to understand, okay, if I have XYZ deal that provides this return, what would you consider investing? And then once you have it available, then that's when you go right to that individual versus scrapping for cash once you get the deal under contract to start raising money. So there's various ways to raise money. There's either you have a fund to where you have the money already sitting and then you can deploy it once you have the deal. The way that I'll always do it is once the property is under contract and done the due diligence and ensure that it's a worthwhile and there's no absolute red flags, then that's when the money starts to be raised. To each his own, and I'm sure there's most likely other ways to raise money out there, but those are the two main ones that I know of, and I do the one once the deal's under contract. So you just don't want to be stuck scrambling for cash and not be able to have that at the closing table and have to push back the closing, which I've done several times. And some sellers are fine with pushing the closing, some are not, and they'll just end up wanting a mutual release out of the contract to go with another buyer that'll close when they say they're going to close. So there's that. So, and the last one is consistency. The book Compound Effect, which was a great read for me personally, go ahead and grab that copy. It talks a lot about the effects of the consistency, how that comes into play. And so that's pretty much it on this topic. I'll catch you on the next episode. And as I alluded to, and just to finish up things, the 31-day challenge, if you haven't already heard about it, you'll want to join it. It gives you the tools, tactics to get your first deal and even your next one that you're working towards. And I'll pull back the curtain and give some insights how I was able to go from 0 units to just under 600. So I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks as always for joining. If you want details on the 31-day challenge, visit sterlingwhiteofficial.com. That one more time is sterlingwhiteofficial.com. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Experience. If this has brought you any value, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to me. Now go out there and crush it.